All right, guys, some quick GPP JPY analysis. So go to tradingview.com on your laptop, go to chat, go to symbol search, search for GPP JPY, click on GPP JPY, it will automatically open the chart. And in this chart is where we'll do analysis, and from analysis, we then execute trades. All right, if you look at this chart, you see candlesticks. There are bearish candlesticks and there are bullish candlesticks. The green ones are the bullish ones, like going up. The red ones are the bearish ones, going down, as in sell. Then green is buy, okay? So currently we're in the 15 minutes time frame. If you look at the top of the screen, at the top left, you see 15 minutes. I've not configured this to have 15 minutes, 4 hours daily, and 1 hour, but I'll do that definitely. But currently we're in 15 minutes time frame. So each of these candlesticks you see is 15 minutes in time, okay? It takes 15 minutes for the candlestick to open and then close, okay? So I'll quickly change the time frame to, let's say, 1 day, because I want to go to the daily trend line. Okay, I'm gonna have to use the daily trend line to start the analysis, which is basically how you want to do most analysis, okay? Just so you know. So currently, if you go into the daily chart and you zoom in, you'll see that we're on a bullish trend, okay? So it's basically going up. All right, so I already set my trend line. So to position a trend line, you need to go to the left of your screen. You're gonna see a bunch of tools. You're gonna see the trend line tool. You will need to choose the trend line tool and then look for the lowest high point and then look for bounce points. So basically you're just looking for lowest highs on your line, on your chart movements, on your price movement, your candlesticks. You're looking for the lowest highs because this is a bullish trend. So you want to place the trend line at the lowest highs and ensure you have bounce points, okay? Because those bounce points is how we do the analysis. All right, quickly, these horizontal lines you see, I call them psychological lines. So I basically place them. So the first one, you'd have to go to the left of your screen, choose the horizontal line tool, and then you have to place it, and then you can actually just click it to configure its actual position. So a psychological position is just like a round off value. So say it is about 202,546. You just round it up to 202,500 or 540, okay? So you're looking for the closest round off number, okay? So you want to look for perfect round off number, and then you just position your psychological line there, and then you can place more psychological lines in your chart and just keep them 50 points apart, 50 points apart, okay? That's an entirely separate tutorial, but I won't be covering that in this one. I just thought I should just tell you about psychological lines, okay? So you can actually use your arrow tool to measure your bars and measure your peep or your points in your chart. And as you are actually doing analysis on TradingView, ensure you're actually doing your analysis on Meta 5, because you'll be executing on Meta 5, okay? So once you do analysis on TradingView, go confirm Meta 5 and then execute. All right, so just so you know, TradingView has a paid plan. You can actually go on tradingview.com and go confirm yourself, but you can actually start free, okay? So when you're doing your analysis for any pair, it's more professional for you to come and do the analysis on TradingView. You know, mark your entry points, mark your stop loss, mark your take profit, and then execute in Meta 5, okay? So I'm actually showing you how you actually do professional analysis on TradingView, okay? So just so you know, this is GPP JPY analysis, British pounds versus Japanese yen, and I'm actually currently in the London session. It's about 9 a.m. Lagos time when I made this tutorial, okay? So this is the London session, just so you know. So when you're trading pairs like JPY, because this is British pounds, you want to stay in the London session, and that's between 8 a.m. in the morning till 5 p.m. in the evening time, okay? So that's basically the time, and you want to basically stick between 8 till 12, okay? Because between 12 to 5 is an overlap of the New York session, okay? So back to the chart. All right, so back in the chat, we're currently in the daytime frame where I set my trend line and actually placed a psychological line, okay? So I already explained how I put the psychological line, and I explained how I put the trend line, okay? So the trend line theory is we're looking for 3 bounce points. After 3 bounce points, there's an opposition, okay, so it goes the opposite way, okay, so it works vice versa, both for bullish and bearish, okay. You just want to look for 3 bounce points. After that, it goes opposite, okay. If it doesn't have actually do three bounce points, it's probably going to do a fake out. I'm going to explain that later, okay. So currently in our chart, I actually switched to the 4 hour time frame, and what this actually means is each candlestick here is 4 hours, and you see more candlesticks, okay. I just switched from the day time frame, which is each candlestick is 1 day, to the 4 hour time frame, which means each candlestick is 4 hours, okay. So I will now switch to a lower time frame, say 15 minutes, which is where, or 1 hour, which you can do more analysis in. You can actually do some more in-depth analysis in the 1 hour time frame on your trading view before you execute. Then you can go into the 15 minutes and execute, okay. So you need to check each of these time frames, look at the candlesticks, because when it comes to forex trading, you need to be able to interpret candlesticks properly before you execute trades, because it's really crucial when it comes to executing trades, the candlesticks in particular. That's why you execute in 15 minutes, because 15 minutes is showing that basically the closest to the real time movements of the candlesticks, okay. So right here you can actually check into the 15 minutes. There's even 1 minute, 2 minutes, 45 seconds, 10 seconds, 3, 5, 1 second. I believe the 1 second is for those that are on the paid plan, so you can actually see how each candlestick is moving per second, literally, okay. So that's how you actually do analysis in the chart. But in this particular tutorial, I'll be showing you how to mark demand and supply zones. I'll explain what they are for later. Right now, you just need to know how to mark a demand and supply zone. So this is what you'll be doing when you're doing analysis before you execute your trades. You have to analyze, go to the charts, put your trend lines, psychological lines, whichever the case may be, just so you know the movement of the market, so you can actually predict what's moving, what's going to happen next, okay, correctly. All right, so I'm going to mark demand and supply zones in this chart. All right, quickly, let's go to the left side of the screen, and then you see all the tools, but there are certain tools you'll basically be needing: your trend line tool, your horizontal line. You'll be using your arrow tool, your positioning tool, and also your long and short for your stop loss and take profit. And also you'll be needing the rectangular box tool, which is what I'll be using to mark the demand and supply zones, okay. So for you to choose the rectangular box tool, you have to go to that paint, yeah, the brush tool, and then choose the rectangle. You go to the brush tool, right click and choose the rectangle, and then I'm going to mark a zone. I'm just going to show you again. Right click, choose the rectangle, and then I'm going to mark this zone, okay. This zone is going to be called the demand zone, okay. So this demand zone is basically a zone where the market starts to go bullish after it was bearish. You can see it was red basically, and it got to this point and the market started going up, okay. So that point where it started going up is the demand zone, okay. That is where the demand came in for the GPJPY trade, okay. So I'm just gonna mark that, because you'll be needing each of these zones to predict the movement of the market, okay. When you are doing your analysis, with time you understand why marking each of all these points really is crucial. All right, so I'm just going to click that, edit it, and then put in the text demand zone, okay, just for reference. So just so you know, all your analysis and trading view is saved as long as you have created an account. So when you go back, you log in, you still see the analysis and you can use it to execute your trades, okay. So I'm just going to reference that, the demand zone, and then I'll go reference the supply zone, okay. So what I'm referencing the zones is basically just to be able to execute trades, okay. So I'm just showing you how to do analysis. Normally I can do analysis in Meta 5. I'm going to show you how to do it professionally in trading view, just so you know how to execute trades correctly, okay. So at the top, I'm just going to mark supply zone using the rectangular box, okay. That is the zone where the market kind of like switched back to being bearish, sell. So you can see that long red candlestick. So that zone, I just mark it the supply zone, okay. So that's the zone where the market kind of went back to being bearish, okay. So you can see the current position of the market. It is with the current position of the market I'll basically make my trade. And obviously this trend line, or this market looks obviously bullish, is going up, is going on this on the buy. So the trade I execute using this analysis is the buy. I will show you the trade in a different video. I'll show you the results. So the trade is a buy, obviously, but I'm just going to mark points because I want to know the right entry point before I go into a trade, because that's how you basically trade. You need to trade carefully. You need to be able to know the right point to enter a trade, and then if you are going bullish or you're going bearish based on the analysis you have done. Okay, so that's the supply zone and that's the demand zone. Okay, another point I'll be marking in this chart is the highest low, okay, or the highest point of the bearish candlestick, which is the one closest to the current candlestick. Now, mind you, this is the 4-hour time frame. Okay, that is where I'm marking demand and supply zones. I put my trend line in the daily time frame, psychological line daily time frame, demand and supply zones in the 4-hour time frame, and then I go to 15 minutes or 5 minutes to execute. Okay, you can actually execute in 15 minutes or execute in 5 minutes. Okay, so another point I'm going to mark is the highest point of the closest low. So that is the highest point of the closest bearish candlestick. Okay, that is the highest point. I'm going to mark that with a horizontal ray line or a horizontal line. Okay, just go to the left side, you choose the trend line tool, and then you choose the horizontal ray line or horizontal line, and then you mark the point carefully. Okay, so in order for you to actually trade like a professional, you have to do this analysis for you to understand forex. Okay, all of these terms I'm explaining, they're actually not that difficult to understand once you start to execute. Okay, it's not about just mastering terms, definitions. That's not what forex is about. It's about executing. So just go into your trading view and do analysis like I'm doing. Just follow what I'm doing and executing meta 5. Okay, that is why I put out the meta 5 tutorial, so you can see execution in real time. Okay, so it's all about execution and risk management. That is why I always advise you start with a demo account, okay, because you want to practice before you execute a real time real life account, because you will lose some trades and you win some trades. Most times it's 90% win if you're good at analyzing, because sometimes the market can be volatile. Okay, so it starts to range, so sometimes it can be disappointing. So you have to experience all of this with the demo account so you understand how to trade forex correctly. Okay, it is very, very necessary. All right, so I've marked my supply zone, my demand zone, and my highest low, and I'll just go into my MT5, and then I'll go on the buy. Okay, I'll go on the buy with a lot size of 1, or a micro lot size of 0.1, or you can still go with rather 0.01, or you can go into mini of 0.1 or 0.5 or 0.6789. Okay, so in order for you to calculate your appropriate lot size, this website is babypeeps.com, so I'll be covering that and that tutorial. Okay, so if you want to execute a trade, the lot size you're going to use in based on in relation with your account balance and the pair you're trading. Okay, for instance, if you are trading GBP JPY, it means it's a trade of British pounds against Japanese yen. So if you go bullish, you're saying, yeah, the British pound is going to be higher than the Japanese yen. That's basically what it means. If you're going like, sell, you're saying it's going to be lower. Okay, in terms of the exchange rate. Okay, so all of these terms I would make a separate tutorial for it. Okay, but right now you just need to focus on executing and doing your analysis. Okay, so if you stayed till this point of the tutorial, congratulations, you have really done well, and it's a good starting point for you when it comes to analyzing forex. Okay, so the next thing you want to do is go to your MT5 and go on the buy with standard lot size, a mini lot size, or a micro lot size, depending on your account balance and how much risk you want to manage. Okay, at the same time, I'm supposed to mark a long and a short position in this particular video, but I'll be leaving it for the next tutorial. Okay, let's not just cover everything here, so you can just relax your mind. Right now, just focus on doing your analysis. I already showed you how to do your execution in meta 5, and you can go mark your take profits and stop loss, but I'll be covering that in the next tutorial. Okay, so thanks for watching this video, and make sure you hit subscribe button, turn on post notifications so you don't miss my next video. Bye for now.